sets up on the left. Play clock at 5. Pass is
You're listening to In The Huddle AU. Welcome everyone to episode 6. We've got another light crew here today as two of the boys, Josh and Tom, are out on holiday. So along my side here is Drew.
Hey everybody.
I'm Nate. And what an interesting weekend of the NFL.
Man, so many close games.
Unbelievable. But before we get kicking off into that, we need to announce the competition winner. In a tiebreaker, it was Luke Sellier. Luke, apologies if I mispronounced your name. People do it with mine all the time. But regardless, you won the signed footy.
Yeah, awesome. Footy, mate.
Dangerfield, Lynch, and Jenkins.
Yeah, I'd love to have that.
Yeah, well done. So put that up in your man cave. But we'll get some details from you. We'll send you a direct message in the next couple of days and get that all taken care of. But just to recap from this weekend, the Bengals at 4-0 and still undefeated. Are they a legitimate playoff team?
I mean, you got to look at them. And being in the AFC North with teams like Pittsburgh and Baltimore and Cleveland, who are actually doing better than most people would think, it's been a really tough road for them to hoe. But they've come out really nice. Marvin Lewis has been getting this team close for a few years now, and I think they're getting to the point where they're going to make a real legitimate run. I mean, battling Pittsburgh for top spot in the AFC North is something they can seriously do with weapons like Andy Dalton and Gio Bernard, Jeremy Hill, AJ Green, Tyler Eifert, who's coming on now.
And Dalton's just slinging it.
Yeah, he's doing a lot better than I thought he was going to do.
And then we have on the other side of the spectrum, we have the Detroit Lions 0-4 after a bit of a controversial call at the end.
On a rule that nobody really knows. I mean, come on, that's all.
Was it intentional? Was it not?
It was definitely an intentional. It was definitely an intentional bet. But the thing about it is I mean, I've played football and known football all my life, but I thought it was a good play as well. The rule is from Blandino. He said that you're not allowed to bat the ball in the end zone at any time.
Okay.
So that's the rule from Steve Blandino.
So if he just kneeled down with it?
It's an intentional, it's Rule 12-4-1, intentional bat in either end zone is a 10-yard penalty or half the distance. So it should have been given to the last team in possession, which was the Lions at half the distance to the goal, which would have been on the half-yard line.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and as a Seattle Seahawks fan, what led to that play was the great play of Cam Chancellor. So could not be happy enough for him to be back.
Man, I tell you what.
So Seattle's now 2-2 with now a 60% chance to make the playoffs, but still some concerns around the offensive line there. And then another team that had a big fight back was Miami. Sorry. And news around Philbin gone now.
Yeah, so they've got rid of him. I believe their tight ends coach is now coaching for him, but it's just a big. I don't necessarily think that Philbin has been the problem. It's the gelling of the team themselves. That they brought in some really good players like Sue, and apparently Sue showed up and he's walking around in house shoes in the office, and everybody's scared to say anything to him. And then the quarterback, was it Fitzpatrick? Is that his name?
No, Tannehill.
Oh, Tannehill. Yeah, Tannehill. So he got into this is a good story. He got into an argument with the practice squad because they kept picking the ball off. And he was like, "Oh, enjoy your practice squad trophy and your practice squad paycheck and whatnot." And then I read a story today about Tom Brady used to pay players on the practice squad if they picked him off. So that just kind of shows you the mentality of where the Dolphins are right now.
No, that's great. Great point.
Yeah, it's tough going for those guys.
And we have another team that is struggling, the Philadelphia Eagles. They're really hurting. And by the looks of things, still looking to find their identity. Yeah,
Chip's been working really hard with his team, and with that type of offense, it is a bit of a mishmash of what their identity is. They're doing double reverses now. I mean, those are kind of things that you wait until the end of the season to go with. But the NFL, with the way that, I mean, as you guys that are listening to the podcast would know, the NFL is very hard to predict because there are so many factors that go into plays. There's so many ways that things can go wrong. I mean, I think Josh might point out a little bit later about how many close games there were this week. So You know, it's one of the reasons why we like the NFL and why other codes of football kind of pattern themselves to try to get the parity that is in the NFL.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And some great play by some unusual suspects so far this year. But what would your standout player be in the first quarter of the season?
Well,
Are they from the same team?
yeah. Well, okay. So I think right now the MVP is going to be Aaron Rodgers, but the offensive MVP for me, except for this week, because how many yards did Julio have?
He
He
had
had like
38.
30. Okay, so Julio had 38 yards this week, but in fantasy, he's the number one wide receiver, and he's been completely just demolishing defenses. And then with a running back like Freeman, who's been also just smashing everybody, it's a really, really good offense. The defense is not as good as it had been, say, maybe 5-10 years ago, but they're still able to hang on, and the Falcons are going to score regardless if it's on the ground or in the air.
Yeah, Freeman was a great waiver wire pickup, by the way. All right, we have Tommy Lynch calling all the way from Gillette Stadium, Foxborough. How we doing out there, Tom?
Back-to-back weeks not being live. It's pretty disappointing not being there with you boys, but yeah, getting some holidays and really enjoying them and catching up on a lot of NFL. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, I bet you are. How's the tan?
What was that?
How's the tan?
Yeah, the tan's as it always is. It's strong. The tan game's strong at the minute, but yeah, my girlfriend gets a lot of tan, and I try to stay clear of that. But yeah, it's not the worst excuse when you get to sit inside and watch the games that we're playing on the weekend.
And so, what are your thoughts?
I want to talk about a few things today, Nathaniel. Obviously, we always talk about fantasy, and the thing I noticed mostly from the fantasy weekend, even though I actually lost to Drew on the weekend. So
Yeah, it was tough. I was wondering if you were going to mention that, Tom. That was a tough loss for you, wasn't it?
I'll get that out of the way early.
I had 4 players on a bye and still beat the guy on top. How'd that happen?
Jeez.
I know. Yeah, very good effort, and you've moved to the top of the table. Am I aware of that? Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. You and me, and I think somebody else are tied for top now.
Yeah, I think you're second still. Mainly what I noticed was it was a real quiet day for wide receivers, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely was.
Antonio Brown only the 42 yards, Julio Jones the 38, Randall Cobb 44, and Megatron only 56. There's some big names not really performing.
Just goes to show that when defenses want to shut down a player, they focus on him, put a bracket on him, and you got to do something else. And if you can't do something else, you're not going to score points.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know if it was, the way it played out or the defense they played, but some running backs had some big games. I mean, Devontae Freeman, who you've got picked up, Nate, he had a big game. Chris Oliver had a big game. Le'Veon Bell obviously took over that offense, especially with Ben Roethlisberger being out. So It was, the tide might be turning. It's interesting what you're going to do with that flex now, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah, and add Forsett to that mix, who broke the century mark for the first time this year.
Yes, you must be pleased with that, because you are stacked at the running back position, and I was sweating you last week about you got to have your flex as a wide receiver, but now I'm not so sure. So when you're on a bit of a losing streak, which has moved to 1 for me, you start to doubt yourself.
Yeah, the trade rumors of the fantasy league have been saying that you are panicking a bit right now. So.
Or I am panicking, or maybe you've got to make these. Even though you're on top of the ladder, you've still got to make moves. So.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
So I'm ruthless though. But what else I saw? The Dolphins. Obviously, the big story coming out of the weekend was they fired John Feldman, which everyone probably saw coming the way they've been going. But Dan Campbell's taken over. I think he was their tight end coach.
Yeah, he was the tight end coach. That's right. We spoke about it a little bit earlier, but you're correct on that. The Dolphins looked to have a lot of promise at the beginning of the season, and it's all just kind of gone to naught, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, they've been saying this is their most talented roster for a while, but what really got me was I know John Feldman's been the coach there for a while, and Dan coming in his first press conference, I feel like he inspired me more than John has the whole time he's actually been at the helm. So I'm not sure if you guys saw that or not, but he certainly isn't someone that you could stand up to. He's a big, probably 6'7" man, and wouldn't want to be getting in his grill, even just a big suit. Wouldn't want to be getting in his face.
Yeah, well, I think that's probably what they needed. Feldman was a bit flat, and they needed somebody to revitalize him. So who knows? They could turn it around.
The year's still young.
Interesting. They've certainly got the talent too. So this might be exactly what they need for a little bit of a culture change as well, and they can get back on track. It's going to be hard for that division.
All right, Tom. So you told us a little bit about what you did like. Tell us what you didn't like about the weekend.
Oh, what I didn't like, I mean, there's so many playmakers in this league now, but there's certainly a lot of, so-called stars who've had some really good reputations who just aren't getting the job done at the minute. I don't know if you guys saw that, but, Big Sue out in Miami, he was the big recruit over the winter. He isn't able to get the job done. Andre Johnson's and Frank Gore have gone to Indianapolis. They've been disappointing. Also, everyone's tuning in over here to the San Francisco 49ers games, obviously because of Jared Hayne, but Colin Kaepernick, wow, he was 5 yards away from winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah, he was.
So I just can't work out some of his passes. They're just under no pressure. He just can't even make a 5-yard pass.
Yeah, that's a good point. I remember you brought that up last week, Tom. Just how is this guy still getting paid? It's unbelievable.
I'm just trying to work out how he's fallen off the cliff so quickly. He was so confident. No scrub gets to the Super Bowl. So
maybe Harbaugh was onto something.
It might have been. Clay Matthews was pretty funny when Kaepernick tried to scramble and he tackled him and he jumped up and he was like, "You're no Russell Wilson, bro."
That was awesome.
That was awesome.
I did see that.
Yeah, that was good.
I did see that.
With a flick of the hair.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal player, and Aaron Rodgers didn't have his best day. The San Francisco defense is pretty good, but that Green Bay defense definitely showed up. But Cowboys are just losing too many soldiers at the minute.
Yeah.
They were always going to get done, and I felt in overtime with how many soldiers. You're losing Sean Lee early in the game, concussion, then Dunbar to a knee injury. Just too many playmakers are just falling out.
Yep. All right. So last week, Tom, you had your sure thing was that the Steelers would put up over 24 points. Well, they had 20,
so
but
close.
you had your kicker missed 2.
Yeah, he would have been right.
No, I would have been. But I can't go down to Scott. He's lost his job, poor fella. But Michael Vick felt like he was just going to get the job done. He's got that many playmakers. Surely he's able to get over 20 points.
Well, that bootleg left when Vic went left. He had Brown wide open, just didn't hit him. That last week was terrible.
Yeah, and they've said that's got to, you've got to make that play as a quarterback. But Antonio Brown, I don't know if you know the stat, but I think that's the first time in 38 games that he's hasn't got his 5 receptions, 50 yards.
Yep.
Fell quite short, which is interesting. But
well, you got that one wrong.
Yeah, wrong again. I think I'm 0 from 3.
So what's your pick this week for your sure thing?
My sure thing this week is I feel as if the Giants on Sunday Night Football are going to put up 30 plus points.
Yeah, they're looking red hot right now for sure.
I'm a real rat for the Giants at the minute. They're playing the 49ers on Sunday Night Football.
Okay.
Big game. I've been waiting all night for something, and so that'll be exciting. I think OBJ bounces back.
All right, so you got the Giants this week. And what about your pick? And last week, you and Josh both picked the Packers to beat the Niners, so you got that one right.
Yep. Well, this week's an absolute no-brainer. I don't know. I should be more prepared, but I just cannot remember the last time the Patriots lost after a bye.
Yeah, I don't.
So I'm going with them.
So you're going with
at the Cowboys.
So you're going with your home team.
With injuries at the minute. We were decimated with injuries, but I'm going to go with the New England Patriots.
Okay, great. Go on. And then your bet last week, you had that the Steelers, the Bills, the Packers, and the Cardinals would win. Well, you got one of those right, but unfortunately you didn't get 4 of them right. So you got that wrong. So what's your bet for this week?
I'm going to go 4 teams again.
Oh.
Just
because you're on a roll.
I need to get one right. The listeners are probably thinking, gee, we're never going to back this bloke. I need to get one right.
You should probably just go with one team.
The 4 teams I'm going to go with are the Cardinals, the Patriots, as I mentioned, as my pick 'em.
Yep.
The Broncos, and the Giants.
The Giants. All right. Very good. All right, Tom. Well, good luck for your picks this week. Thanks for dialing in from Foxborough.
Thanks, Tomo.
No worries. I'll say hello to Tommy and Giselle for you.
See you, bro.
Thanks. We'll speak to you soon. See you, bud.
See ya.
Our 2-minute drill is going to be run by Drew, our in-house football expert today. And Drew has some great insight on this next topic. Drew?
Yeah, so I was offensive lineman back in the day, and we didn't really hang out with kickers very much. because we didn't necessarily see them as part of the team. But as you would see this week, it's a vital position and very specialized. It's one of the reasons why you don't see them in practice very much, because they're always out just trying to perfect their craft. But stats would say that they aren't doing worse this year if you look. But there were 18 missed field goals this year. Many of them involved either game-winning kicks or the end of the game. For instance, Jaguars' Jason Myers missed a game winner in both the regulation and in overtime. Not to mention, as everybody probably saw, the Steelers' Josh Scobie, who missed 2 in the fourth quarter that would have sealed the game for them. Yep. Since they moved the point after kick back, the percentage is down 5%. Doesn't really seem that much, but it's a big difference when you consider how many point after kicks are happening. Not all were bad, though. Rookie Josh Lambo, he was 3 for 3, including a game winner. And second-year kicker out of Tulane is probably my favorite kicker, Cairo Santos for Kansas City. He has the most perfect technique. You guys should look him up on the internet. He was perfect as well.
Okay.
So, the kickers, they get a bad rap, but when it comes down to the line, a lot of games come down to field goals, and you really need a good one, and it was proven this weekend.
Well done. We now have our other vacationer on the line, Josh Jenkins, ringing all the way in from Ford Field. How's everything out there in Detroit, Josh?
Guys, starting to get cold here in Detroit, boys, so hopefully it's nice and warm. I hear it's about 40 degrees back in Adelaide, so hopefully you two American Australians are doing okay.
We are sweating. It's like a wet t-shirt contest in here. All right, well, let's do a little recap of the weekend with you. First thing, let's look at that this Seattle-Detroit game. Mega no.
Yeah, my man Calvin Johnson. He made, I guess it's more so Cam Chancellor made the game-saving play. I know Johnson fumbled it into the end zone, but the play that I've been the Megatron fan that I am, I'd rather focus on Cam's play more so than Calvin's mistake.
Yeah.
But yeah, we all saw it. Calvin Johnson caught the ball, tried to dive into the end zone and win the game for the Lions, be the hero, and then Chancellor comes out of nowhere and pokes it out, punches it out. And then I guess we saw it went without much fanfare at the time, and we saw some associate referees or ex-officials and come out and say that the ball was it KJ Wright, I believe it was.
Yeah, it was.
Batted the ball out of the end zone, and that's obviously an illegal play. I obviously had no idea that was the case.
No.
It's quite strange. He didn't know the rule either. He admitted he didn't know the rule. Otherwise, he probably should have just left the ball.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the Lions effectively should have got the ball on the 1 yard line, and whether not all teams can get it in from the 1 yard line, Nate, as you well know. But you would have, Detroit would have scored and won the game, but not to be. Seattle had a little bit too much luck at CenturyLink from officials for my liking, but that's how it goes.
Yeah, they actually asked the back judge after the game about the decision that he made, and he said that he didn't feel that the motion of batting the ball was overt, which was the reason why he didn't make the call, which I completely disagree with, but that was his excuse for not making the call.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing he could. That was probably the only and best excuse you could come up with, Drew, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, Josh, when I was watching it, I was so blown away by the fact that Cam came back and made that play at the end zone that when he batted the ball out of bounds, I didn't even think about the fact that you're not allowed to bat the ball. Rule 12.4.1.
Cam saved my multi-bat. He did. I owe him money.
Well done, Cam.
I should pay him.
I think they actually Sportsbet paid out both ways because of the mistake on that rule.
Yeah, they did, which is very kind of them.
And then Josh, how about your Bengals and Falcons, huh?
Yeah, my two teams been with Atlanta and the Bengals since day dot. So two different teams. Marvin Lewis has been there for many years, and probably in some people's eyes has been lucky to keep that gig, and they're 4-0. They haven't looked like getting beat yet. And the same goes for the Falcons. They've probably been even more impressive. Dan Quinn, a great Seahawks defensive coach, has just brought a newfound figure to the Falcons, and they're no one's even touched them. They haven't really been challenged. Matt Ryan's firing on all cylinders. I know Julio Jones didn't have a big game on the weekend, but they're just able to continue the ball moving. Devontae Freeman's just, I remember picking him up last year in the fantasy world, just thinking that he was out of hard knocks and he was going to be this, this young gun on the scene, a la Giovanni Bernard. It didn't happen, but he looks like an all-pro running back. They're just, Dan Quinn and the boys have got things going on in Atlanta, which is, I guess it has to be true. That's your adopted professional team as well, right?
Well, I'm a Patriots guy, but I think Dan Quinn probably could end up getting Coach of the Year this year. He's done a really good job.
Well, I mean, they got. I think they got another really winnable game against Washington this week. I believe that's at the Georgia Dome. And you talk about, you start to get carried away, which is something you don't want to do, but their schedule really opens up to them from here, so who knows?
Well, I'll look for Julio to have another big week after only having 30-something yards this week.
Boy, it'd be great to have Devontae Freeman on your fantasy team, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. Well, isn't it amazing how people are raving so much about Julio Jones' start to the year, and after 4 weeks, Antonio Brown's level with in receiving yards. So his start to the year is going under the radar a little bit, but he's been just remarkable.
Yeah, no, could not disagree with that comment. And how about, we had a lot of nail biters this weekend. We had Baltimore win by 3 over the Steelers.
Yep.
We had Jacksonville lose to Indy by 3 in overtime.
Yep.
Do you want to comment around some of those games?
Yeah, it was just a funny week. It was the week of the non-kicker. The kickers really cost their teams a lot on the weekend, and not going to help our friend from ESPN, Skip Bayless. He wants kickers. He wants them to be disgraced from the league. But yeah, there were so many games that were decided by field goals or missed field goals. There were 3 games that went to overtime. I guess that these sorts of games at the end of the year, you're going to look at teams that miss the playoffs, and they're going to lose a game like this. For example, in Arizona, just at home, I know they're rolling, but they go to 3-1. They could get a 2-game skip on Seattle, and now they're pretty much right back in hunt. Games like this that they lose can be costly. Dallas loses in overtime, and in that NFC East where it's really tight. So some of those losses, those tight losses, are really going to cost teams. And on the flip side, obviously, that being able to scrape out a win when you don't play your best. Indianapolis, they didn't play their best, and they haven't done so, but they've won their last 2 games, and that's all that matters.
Yep, exactly. And just jumping off that, we're a quarter of the way through the season now. So where do your top players land? Who's got your MVP pick at the moment?
Well, initially I took Andrew Luck. I don't think I was on my own there. But I mean, it's hard to go past. It's got to be either. I mean, Rodgers has put his hand up for back-to-back awards, but I mean, at the moment, and I'm glad Tom's not on the line with me. It's got to be Thomas Brady, doesn't it? The way he's performed to start the year. I mean, he's at the bye week, which goes against him, but.
Well, he's been
given out today. I'll give it to him.
He's been so impressive. Especially after that off season, just to come in firing like he has.
Absolutely. And then the other end of the spectrum, the rookies. I mean, I picked Melvin Gordon. I just thought it was probably a safe pick. I thought he was going to get a lot of touches, and yes, he has. But Drew's boy from Alabama, Murray Cooper, he's lighting it. It doesn't matter the caliber of the defender. He's getting 100 yards most weeks. So
he's all about business for sure. And I picked Cooper to get the rookie MVP this year. But you know what? I'm starting to shine a little bit on Mariota. He's 5th highest passer rating right now. He's got a 8-to-2 touchdown to interception ratio. And being someone from the offense that he was in college, he's showing a lot of pocket poise. So.
Absolutely. I mean, he's just. I guess he's that type of person, isn't he? Isn't he, boy? He goes under the radar. He doesn't speak much, and you don't hear much from him. And he's in Tennessee, not a big market team. And you're spot on. Even though he's a quarterback, he's probably in a number 2 draft pick. He's just going about his business. I guess they're not going to win, or they're not winning a lot of games, so he probably doesn't get the praise that he deserves.
It's those intangibles, what we spoke about in the first podcast before the season started about being a good leader and being comfortable in the huddle and making your team really believe in you. That's what he's been showing.
And a student of the game.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And how are the Super Bowl picks looking at this point?
Yeah, once again, not great, but I guess that's why we pick them at the start of the year, and no one ever makes any money off having a bet on it because it's you're never right. Because I had Seattle and Indianapolis in the Super Bowl. I think Indianapolis they're probably a loss away from being done.
Yeah, I think Luck may sit out another week with this short turnaround on Thursday. I think he might sit out this week.
And and that's going to be costly. They're not going to be able to win enough games anyway. Certainly, if Luck's sitting out too many more.
So what's your pick at this point then?
I have to bow down and pick the Patriots. I think we all do at this stage. I mean, we probably need to. No one's ever going to really give the Bengals credit until they win a playoff game.
That's right.
I'd love to pick them, but it's the Patriots at the moment.
Yep. All right. Your picks for last week. So your sure thing. You went with all those 3-0 teams to take a win in this last weekend, and only Arizona, who lost to St. Louis at home, could not get across the line. So unfortunately,
I'm not too disappointed with that one, Drew. You were away, obviously didn't hear it, but I'm not sure what you thought. It was a pretty bold selection by myself, and it nearly came through. So I'm not too unhappy with that.
No, you can take a graceful loss on that.
Yeah, sometimes you got to let it all hang out, you know. Go big or go home, right?
That's right.
Exactly. That's why we're here to enlighten the people. So not too unhappy with that.
And what do you have this week for your sure thing?
Well, I'm not liking this sort of theme I'm heading along here, but I think after a week off to rest that 38, 39-year-old body of his, I think TB12. Thomas Edward Patrick Brady or something like that. I think he dropped 40 on Dallas.
Woo! I hope so.
40. They're in there under the roof at Cowboy Stadium, and you'll get a couple of Gronks, you'll get a couple of Edelman, and they'll drop 40.
All right, and then the pick'em last week, you had the Packers to beat the Niners, which you got correct. Well done.
I certainly did. Won a couple of bucks off that selection as well. So that was pretty sure thing. Had you told me that Green Bay was going to only put up 17 points, I would have been pretty worried. But unfortunately, Colin and Co put up 3. So it was a pretty safe picking, yeah.
And what do you have for this week?
My boys, I'm taking the Dirty Birds of Atlanta to beat Washington at the Georgia Dome.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Yep. No, I like that.
Thanks, Drew.
I approve.
And then your bet for last week, you had Atlanta to cover the 6.5, Indy over Jacksonville 8.5, and then you had Pittsburgh to win. Well, you had Atlanta cover, and that was about it, unfortunately.
Yeah, tough one. Obviously, having Luck pull out. Obviously, we make these picks fairly early in the week, so Luck withdrawing from the game is going to make it tough. And then Pittsburgh, had they not had an incompetent kicker, I would have got through. But everyone has a story, and mine was incorrect.
Yep. All right. Well, what are you going to do this week to turn that around?
All right, I've got some money for the people this week. I am taking New England to cover the 8-point spread against Dallas, into Atlanta to cover the 7.5 against Washington, and that will score you a nice little $4 for a 2-leg multi for 2 undefeated teams to win by more than a touchdown. That's all.
Wow, playing it safe. Well, big money.
Well, I haven't been off to a great start for my betting campaign. I consider myself a fairly good gambler, so I need to win some money for the punters.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. All right. Very good. Thanks for those, Josh.
Absolutely, boys. Kelvin's just standing over here giving me a bit of a bad look because I need to get it back to him and teach him how to hang on to the ball.
Teach him he needs to put that ball up high and tight, man. What's he doing?
Well, he's got Patrick Peterson in the house this week, and Patrick hasn't given up 100 yards total this year after a little bit of a lean year. Him and Patrick and Kelvin are going to go head-to-head. So Patrick's in LSU boy, of course. He's in great form, and Kelvin has put some numbers up on him in the past, so can't wait for that.
Gosh, listen to the statistician here.
Pretty good.
Nice, I like it.
Pretty good, boys. I'm pretty good. I'm not the brains of the operation for nothing.
Well done. All right. Thanks, bud. We'll speak to you soon.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.
See you, Joshy.
All right, Drew, you and I are here, so let's we'll take a look back at what I picked for last week, and then we'll jump into yours since you were having fun with your lovely wife on vacation.
Yeah, it was terrible. I hated it.
Yeah, I bet. You're peeling. That's how much you hated it. So my sure thing last week was that Julio Jones would have a pretty quiet day with 125 yards and 1 touchdown, and he let me down. Only 38 yards, and that was it, unfortunately. So that's big. This week, for my sure thing, I am saying that Julio will redeem himself. No, he'll get over 100 yards, but combined with Devontae Freeman for over 3 touchdowns.
You know what? That's crazy that you say that because my sure thing was Freeman and Jones to have 200 yards combined. So they both have 100 yards. Well, it's great minds, right? How about that?
Hey.
So Julio had a stinker last week,
Yeah.
which he is not going to like because he does not like not being productive. And Freeman, I mean, both of those guys. How is it that the number one running back and the number one wide receiver in fantasy are on the same offensive team? How good is that? That's just unbelievable. So my sure thing this week is that combined Freeman and Jones have 200 yards.
Very good. Well done. All right, last week my pick'em was the Colts to win at home over Jacksonville, and thankfully they did. Regardless of the quality of the victory, they got it across the line. And this week, my pick'em is I'll take the Packers at home over the Rams.
Yeah, that's probably a good one. And going off of your pick'em from last week with the Jaguars, everybody goes against them. But this week, they're playing old famous Jameis McCrabbyston. So I have a feeling with the amount of interceptions that Jameis has been giving away this year because he's undisciplined and is not a team player and always tries to make stuff up because that's just who he is. Jacksonville is going to beat the Buccaneers. So take the Jags. That's my pick'em.
All right. Very good. My bets for last week, wow, this was an absolute stinker. I picked the Steelers, the Raiders, Seattle to cover, the Colts, and the Falcons, and only the Colts and the Falcons got up on that one for me. This week, I am picking Atlanta to cover at home versus Redskins, Green Bay to win versus St. Louis, Buffalo to win at Tennessee, and Jacksonville to win at Tampa, paying $10.16. So put $1 on it and buy yourself a Big Mac meal, right, Drew?
That's right. Gamble responsibly. NFL is, and anybody that does regular punting will tell you the NFL is the most difficult to bet on. And there's a reason why all of us are not professional gamblers is because it's very difficult to get these correct. But what I like to do is play the points. So the Patriots, I'm going to take them to cover 8.5. The Giants, with as hot as they are, I'm going to take them to cover a touchdown. The Raiders are a 5.5 underdog. I'm going to take them to cover that. And the Bears, who have really been stinking it up lately, are a 9-point underdog. And anytime you get close to double digits, you got to think about taking it. That pays $13. So take the Pats, Giants, Raiders, and Bears all to cover.
And you can buy yourself
$13, you can get a Schnitty. Maybe even a pint of Schnitty if you go somewhere that's got a nice deal.
There you go. Well done. All right. Well, I think that does it for us this time, episode 6. As always, be sure to check us out on our social media channels. Twitter at In The Huddle AU, our Facebook page.
Yeah, give us a share. Tell your friends about us.
Yeah, check us out. Post a comment if you have any questions about anything. Drew and I are the ones that usually try to respond on Facebook.
Yep.
And Josh does on Twitter the best he can. And also check out Josh's website, joshjenkins04.com. And that will do it.
Roll Tide, everybody.